Hey guys, welcome back, or if you're new, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be making some taro ube cake from Delish. If you guys know June, this is the recipe that she made. So I'm going to try it out, and I'm also going to be making some ube flavored cookies. So it's gonna be a busy night. So today's kind of an ube kind of day. We have the ube extract that I'm gonna be using, and I bring all the ingredients here. And just like, so this is it, you guys. Sugar, flour, egg whites, heavy whipping cream, the taro root, cooking spray, cornstarch, salt, 6 eggs, 3 egg yolks. That's why I'm using the egg whites to substitute. The rest I need for the rest of the recipe. The ube flavoring. I brought out the stand mixer that we use, so I could go ahead and make it everything the way that I should and not spend as much time as I usually do. So I'm gonna go ahead and start making the sponge cake, which I've never done. So hopefully it comes out correctly. So sponge cake first, while that's cooking and cooling, then we go ahead and do the taro and everything else. So let's go ahead and start this sponge cake. Hey guys, welcome to today's commentary, and today we're working on the taro cake, but as right now we're making the sponge cake for the taro cake. And I'm measuring out a cup of flour, which I'm going to go ahead and put in that clear container in front of me. And after the flour, I'm going to go ahead and add the cornstarch, and it's 1 tablespoon of cornstarch and just a little bit of salt. They ask for kosher salt, but I just go ahead and use the pink Himalayan salt because that's all I have. And I'm just going to go ahead and combine it together, so when I have the egg yolk mixture, I'm not going to go ahead and add it separately so it won't clump. Now for the egg yolk mixture, it is 3 whole eggs and 3 egg yolks. Now be careful not to combine the egg yolks with the egg whites or any oils or fats with the egg whites, because then it won't make the meringue that we are looking for. And here I'm carefully trying to separate it. I did crack a couple yolks, but none of it got into the egg whites. And after the egg yolks, you go ahead and I put it in the standalone mixer for like medium speed for about 2 to 3 minutes so it's combined. And then after it was combined, I went ahead and added some sugar. It was about 2/3. Well, the total recipe asks for 2/3 of a cup of sugar, but for the egg yolks, it's only half a cup of sugar, and that's me adding it there. And I accidentally put the bowl in wrong, so it wasn't spinning on its own. So I had to go ahead and manually spin it, as you can see. So here I am lowering the speed for the eggs because they are at the right consistency. And from the eggs, once they were finished, I went ahead and started to mix the egg whites to that meringue that we want. And for the egg whites, you add the rest of the sugar, which was like a 1/3 cup of sugar, to it, but you add it gradually because you don't want it to get clumpy, since meringues are very, very sensitive and delicate. So you have to do it in small portions. And once you notice that they are at stiff peaks or soft peaks, you are ready to go. And that's here I am making sure that they get to the right consistency before I go ahead and dump them into the egg yolk mixture. Once they are done, as you can see, they are at a stiff peak. Once that is, you go ahead and combine the flour mixture with the egg yolk mixture. You have to do it in 2 batches, but I accidentally did them in 3, but it was fine. It still worked. Once the egg and the flour are combined, then you go ahead and add the egg yolks to it. And as you're going to see, once you combine the egg whites with the egg yolks, it gets even more airy and it becomes like a lighter color. And I didn't realize that I didn't add the vanilla to the cake, but it still came out pretty good in my opinion. Everybody seems to like it. I should have cut it thinner so it wasn't as dense as it really was. But as you can see, the batter got lighter, and then you add the butter to it, and it has to be cooled butter so it doesn't, I guess, cook the eggs that are in here. And then you mix it and combine it all together. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next part. Okay, so this is kind of like the consistency that it came out to be. It looks quite airy, so I think I did it right. But I'm gonna go ahead and put this into the nicely oiled pan that she did, and then pop it in the microwave and pop it in the oven for a few minutes, and then let it cool. Hopefully it comes out correctly. So here I am pouring it, and what I should have done was pour it more evenly so I can make sure that it came out leveled, but I didn't. But here it is, just pouring it all together, and once it was finished pouring out, I had to tap it on the counter a couple of times. So the oven is currently heated to 350. It's gonna cook for 15 minutes, and then it says to lower to 325 for another 15 minutes. So for the taro root filling, I'm gonna use half of this, and the rest I'm gonna use for the cookies. And I'm just gonna peel it, dice it, cook it until it's tender, put some cream, sugar, a little bit of salt, and then mash it together. It's 2 in the morning, so I'm gonna finish the rest tomorrow since I have to let the cake cool, and I have to let this cool completely. So I'm just gonna do this now, finish the sponge cake, finish this, put it into a Pyrex, and then go to sleep. And then tomorrow I'll go ahead and film the rest of it since I have to finish the cake and have to do cookies. So I just finished that. So I'm gonna go ahead and start doing this. I have the scale here because I only need a pound. And we have, I think this is 2.5 pounds. So I'm going to do the best that I can. Supposedly this is very easy to peel. Oh yeah, it is. So the taro root was quite easy to peel. It did take me about 20 minutes to actually peel it because on some parts of it, it is quite tough. That, as you can see, I am struggling on some of the parts. But besides that, it was really easy. It took about 0.3 grams of weight from just the skin. And yep, I missed a couple of spots, so I went back and had to peel more of it. Here it is, completely peeled. Oh, missed a spot. Okay, completely peeled, and it being peeled, it's at 2.2. So I'm going to do my best to cut it in half. It did it perfectly. This one's 1.2 and this one's 1 pound. So I'm gonna save this for the cookies. I'm gonna go ahead and dice this up. I was actually very proud and very excited that I cut that perfectly. Like literally it was 1 pound and then 1.2 pounds. And it just, I don't know how it came out that good, but it did. I always get a pot too big, but this is them dice. It says to add a little bit of salt to it. Then some water. Okay, we'll go ahead and put it on the stove and let it boil until it comes to, you know, very soft and tender. Once the pieces were diced, I went ahead and put it on the stove and I cooked it for about 10 to 15 minutes. Now, some of the pieces were a little bit bigger than the others, and that's why it came out a little bit hard, but majority of it was at a good consistency. So the cake came out. It's a good height. I forgot to add vanilla to it, so it smells a little eggy, but we'll definitely have to wait to see tomorrow to see how it tastes. Okay, so the taro is done. It's quite soft and starchy. So I'm gonna go ahead and drain it out real quick. So this is my favorite part, is using that little masher machine that we have. It came in a set with the immersion blender and the whisk. And this is my favorite part. It helps definitely mush it up like mashed potatoes. And it's definitely a lot easier than doing it by hand. And it gets the job done. Okay, so we have this kind of like machine that basically makes mashed potatoes the easier way because I'm lazy. So it says to mash it. And then add the sugar and the milk. Well, it says coconut milk, but I only have heavy whipping cream, so I'm just going to use that. And she uses blueberries to give it color, but I have the ube extract, so I'm just going to go ahead and put that in here. So let me go ahead and mash this real quick. As you can see, this is the machine in action, and it's definitely a lot easier than doing it by hand. And the recipe called for 2/3 of a cup of sugar and a 1/4 cup of coconut cream, but I only have heavy whipping cream, and it worked just fine. And the taro, the ube, I literally just poured some in, eyeballed it. I think I should have added a little bit more. Okay, so it came out this really nice purple color. So it says put it back into the pot and put it back to boil to let it thicken a little bit, since I added all the milk and everything in here. So let me go ahead and do that. I guess since it's just a little bit runny, we're just trying to thicken it up to be kind of like icing. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop this back on the stove, and I'm gonna lower the heat, so like that. Well, not lower the heat. Yeah, I'm gonna lower the heat and mix it a lot so it doesn't burn, because with my luck, it definitely would burn. I went ahead and changed pots so it could be easier to control. So I'm just gonna continuously stir it on heat to thicken it up a bit and hopefully not to burn it. So this step in itself took about 20 minutes to get to a thicker consistency than what it is now. So this is kind of like the consistency that we want. So I'm just gonna let this cool, put it away, and then tomorrow I'm gonna finish the rest. So here we are, day 2 and the final day. I'm gonna take this out of here, put it onto this cutting board, put the filling in it, and then I'll work on the meringue icing once it's taken out and has stuff. So like that, I don't have to worry about it deflating. But after this, I'm going to be working on the ube taro cookies, and hopefully it comes out a little bit better than last time. But let me go ahead and start poking it around so I can be able to lift it out of here. This is one of the most satisfying steps there was getting that cake out of there so smoothly, and it didn't get stuck at all. So she did a fantastic job of oiling it, because as you guys saw, it just came out. So I'm going to go ahead. So I'm planning on cutting it like this and then filling it. And whatever icing I have left over, I'm going to decorate the top of the cake. So this cake didn't come out as evenly as the taro came out, because that one came out perfectly. But I still made it work. Later on, you will be able to see that I cut it at the end. But look at that nice split. I was very satisfied with that. Once I cut it, I went ahead and transferred it onto a plate to get it ready to go ahead and put that ube taro filling in it. And it took quite a lot of filling, to be surprised, honestly. I actually was supposed to put a little bit more. But here I am cutting it, getting it ready to decorate. Well, not decorate, but go ahead and put the ube in it. There you go. That step took me maybe 15-20 minutes, maybe even half an hour, to make sure I went ahead and filled up all the crevices. As you can see, there I am cutting it. It wasn't evenly, and that piece we ended up tasting. So at this point, my baby was very tired and sleepy, so he was screaming his head off. But as you can see, I finished filling in all the cakes and all the holes in it. But I went ahead and started telling you guys that all I was going to do was put sugar and water and go ahead and cook it until it's about 225 degrees Fahrenheit. And then whipping up the egg whites into the standalone mixer. And once the sugar/water mix was ready, I slowly added into the egg white mixture. And I say slowly, and I emphasize that because if you add it too quickly, it's gonna cook the eggs. So once that's ready, and you go ahead and measure it, and the recipe called for about a a cup and a quarter cup of sugar with a half a cup of water, and you go ahead and cook it. And then for the egg whites, it's about 51 grams of egg whites or 5 medium egg whites. Now I just go ahead and use the egg whites by itself so I don't waste any of the egg yolks. But you put the egg whites, and then once the egg whites are measured to the precise amount, you go ahead and put it into the standalone mixer, and you go ahead and whip it, and for a really long time. I think it took about 10 minutes. It seemed like a lot of time to me, but it took about 10 minutes. As you can see, it's starting to get thick, and at the end of it, it was very thick and fluffy, and it filled up majority of the bowl. I got to the stiff peaks, and once I got to the stiff peaks, I went ahead and started to add the sugar. And here I am telling you to add the sugar slowly. Yep, adding the sugar. And that one, it didn't take too long. I was just very scared that I was going to end up cooking the eggs, which I didn't. It actually came out perfectly. And just go ahead and mix it and let it do its thing. So I turned it off, and it's that perfect stiff peaks texture. So I'm going to go ahead and ice it and decorate it a little bit. I have a little piping bag. I'm going to decorate it, and then I'm going to, torch it basically. In this part, I'm just showing you the stiff peaks, and I get a scoop of it on my fingers so you guys can see that it's stuck on there, even though I shook my finger up and down. So after I made sure that the meringue came out to a great consistency, I went ahead and started decorating or icing the cake, and that is such a satisfying part because you get to slowly see it disappear and get covered, especially since the filling is purple. Covering it with that white is just amazing. And I kind of went a little crazy on the decorating part just because I had so much meringue left over. I went very crazy. So we have a big one, so I have to be very careful if you're going to do this. Be extremely careful. I do not advise you to do this at home. Here I am starting to blowtorch the cake, and that was also a very satisfying part because all the details that you put in it and all the hard work definitely starts to show. And I forgot to put the age and birthday, and I did not realize until after I had finished doing all of this work. So that was terrifying, but it came out kind of. This is the first one. I'll show you guys later on. I had to make the cookies later today, but since I'm tired now, I'm going to take a break, enjoy the cake, and then I'll make the cookies later. Okay, so today, it's been 2 days since I've made the video. But tonight I'm making us the ube cookies. Not the ones that I made last time, but the ones that I made recently that I didn't film. But it's very simple. It's just sugar, flour. We're using protein powder, an egg, room temperature, so let it warm up. They want coconut cream, but we don't have any, so I'm using heavy whipping cream, baking powder, baking soda, and butter. And ube. I just forgot to take it out. So I'm going to go ahead and get that out, and then I'll start melting out everything that needs to go together. So this is the second time that I'm making this recipe, and these cookies are definitely by far my favorite. And as you can see, I went ahead and just used the scale to measure everything. It was basically 155 grams of butter, 250 grams of sugar, 150 grams of powdered ube, but we just went ahead and did the protein powder ube because that's all that we had. And then a large egg, room temperature, 1 3/4 teaspoon of ube extract, vanilla. I don't really put vanilla in any of my recipes. I know I should. I just choose not to. Again, 60 grams of coconut milk, but I don't have any, so I just use heavy whipping cream. And all the recipes came out pretty good with just using the heavy whipping cream. 1 teaspoon of baking powder, half a teaspoon of baking soda, and 1/4 cup of kosher salt. But because I used regular salted butter, I just went ahead and not added any extra salt. Now I went ahead and just mix it with my hand because it just makes it easier on my part. It gets it to that good consistency, and it's just easier than using a spatula. Now to cook the cookies, I cooked it for 13 minutes. I made 3 different batches, and each one just got better and better. Okay, so they're finished, It didn't take as long as it did last time. Oops. I had misread the measurements for it, and I thought it said 1 tablespoon, so I was making the cookies really like this big, and I reread it again today and it said 1 tablespoon. So I was making them a teaspoon and they're supposed to be a tablespoon, and these seem more appropriately sized. But I baked them for 10 minutes at 350. And I think they came out pretty good. The first time I had to try out the temperature, I don't know what the camera's gonna get, but it came out a little bit brown. And then this time, it's still a little bit brown, but it's a little bit more purple, and that's what I wanted. That was my goal, was to get it a little bit more purple, so it could be like, ooh, baked cookies, instead of like, what's that? But that's about it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in my next video.